Going on, ladies and gentlemen? And this is Switch Up Sports. And today we're going to be getting into something that revolves how do I win? Before I get started into anything, you guys already know, do all the fun social media and podcast, YouTube, Facebook, all the different crazy stuff like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, notification bell, whatever platform you're watching on. Do the needed things on that platform and let's get into it. So, how do you win? How do I win? What is winning? Before you kind of get into wins, losses, ups, down, whatever we get, you have to be able to define your terms. You have to define what a win is. You can't just go willy nilly and go and do something, because if you're just kind of going about something free willy, you're not just really that focused, you're just signing up and kind of doing something, you're not going to be successful because you're not going to have some type of thing moving you forward. It's like someone telling you, hey, I have this destination for you. Go ahead and walk towards it. But if you never really get told where it's at, then you're just going to be kind of mindlessly wandering in random directions. You could be moving in the right direction. You could be moving in the wrong direction. And if you come up to like an obstacle or something, like you're just going to stop. Like you're going to be like, oh, okay, like yes, no, and you're just going to kind of wait there. So with winning, you have to define what it is. And it can really be anything. And this is kind of the part where it's like about setting goals. And I know I had talked previously in last episodes and episodes before in terms of setting different goals and setting it up to the degree you can start at 12 months, because with 12 months, your mind can work in a way where 12 months feels like a very long time to most people. You say, hey, you've got a full year. And most people are like, like it's just a year. Like, a year goes very fast, but at the same time, it's very, very slow if you break it all the way down to 365 days. And if you try to make a plan for every single one of those 365 days, you would realize it actually is a really long time, but it's also a really short amount of time in the grand scheme. So with 12-month goals, you kind of have this freedom to kind of get a little more creative. Sometimes if you say, hey, what are you going to do this month? Like, it's really hard for you to try to amass a good amount of if you're talking about like money goals, it's hard to amass anything quickly. Versus if I were to say, hey, in 6 months, what can you achieve? It's like, well, I can achieve a lot more than I can in 1 month. And it's like, yes, you just have more time. So starting with 12 months makes it a little bit easier. And then you can be able to chunk up those 12 months. So if you were to have 12-month goals, you can essentially then take those goals, just cut them in half. And then your 6-month goals, you can cut those in half again. And there's your 1/4 or 3-month goals. You can cut them by thirds. You can cut them. You can literally just keep processing them down until you get to a day. And then it's like, okay, well, what do I have to do today? It's like, well, today I have to run a mile. Today I have to do 10 push-ups. Today I have to do 10 sit-ups. Whatever it may be. It can be all the way down to that fundamental of like, oh yeah, it can really be that simple. That's the first step. Once you have the goals set and identified, you've given yourself a target to aim for. You've given yourself an end goal, and this is something that you can now chase after. And so if you say, "Hey, I want to make $50,000 for a nice round number." Say, "Hey, I want to make $50,000." And at the end of the year, you didn't hit $50,000, you would know, "Oh, I didn't hit my target. That's not a win." Even if you made $45,000, you'd go, "Oh, well, I'm happy I made $45,000, but I wanted to make 50,000, so I can't count it as a win." I can look at the success and I can say, "Okay, well, what did I do to get this, and how can I, make this and turn it and be better for next time, so that way I can hit my goal." You can break it down and say, "Okay, what are the goods? What are the bads?" There was things that I did positively, there was things that I did negatively that impacted that. It's just the nature of how it works, but you can't identify it as a win. But it's set out there as a target being, hey, this establishes what the win is. And that is the first key. You have to identify what it is. And identifying is the first root of the problem. And it's on problems and the successes. Everyone talks about, and first steps for in terms of it. It's like, well, I have a drinking problem is, the way most AA ends up starting in terms of recovery is admitting the issue. So both on the problem side But also on the success side, you have to give yourself a post that you're chasing after. You can't just be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make money." It's like, "Okay, how much?" Or, "Yeah, I'm gonna run." "Okay, how far?" That's the issue is, like, you can't give yourself a fake post that you can then move forwards and backwards to achieve the level that you're at. So you have to set the number. When you set the number, you can chase after it, and then you can result in a win or a loss. But really, at the end of the day, it's about going the extra step. If it's about making $50,000, well, maybe you're gonna have to work an extra hour every week to make that happen. Maybe it's you're gonna have to put in a little bit of extra effort in hopes of getting a promotion, and you're gonna work your way to getting that promotion, and it might not be with that same company. You might be working really, really hard, and it then might turn, and you might end up working at a company down the street because they see how hard you're working and they're willing to pay you what you're wanting to be paid. Like that, it could be just as easy as that. In terms of like with running or any fitness goals or anything that you're going with that, it's sometimes you have to take, the extra couple of strides on the treadmill. You have to stay on for the extra minute. You have to crank it up by a little bit faster of a speed, and the same for, bench press, and you're trying to do what you have to do that extra rep. You have to take that extra step. If you want to be a state champion, you have to go to those extra practices. You have to do those extra little things. You can't just go about this as oh yeah, it's just going to fall into my lap, because that's not the point. Like, people talk about manifesting and, oh, like, if you think it's going to happen. Yes, you have to think it and make it happen. The thing that makes it actually fall into your lap, it's the same thing with the overnight success. You don't become an overnight success by just, going to sleep and waking up one day. You become an overnight success by working really, really hard for most of the time, years on end. So that way, one day overnight, you literally go to sleep and wake up the next day and it's like, oh, you're famous. It's like, well, yeah, but I've been doing the same thing for the last 4 years with no one giving me any recognition. So with that, it turns to that same thing. You have to do all those extra steps, because if you didn't do all those extra steps, you wouldn't get to the position that you were in to become the overnight success. But at the same time, the overnight success only happened quicker than it would have. So it's also like, wow, it took this long. But by taking those extra steps, it's like, wow, it took this long, but it could have taken so much longer if I didn't take these extra steps. I became a two-time, and it was actually back-to-back Houston national champ. But during that time, there was a 3-year time frame, and it started like when I think it was in like fifth grade. For some reason I remember in fifth grade, because it was weird that I was going from Bowles, which was the elementary school I went to, and I had done a couple practices with the high schoolers. And from like fifth grade, I'd go like once a week or so, and I would practice with the high schoolers. And really, at that time, I was practicing with like the high school women's team. And don't get me wrong, that women's team, they, I still like remember Emily Martin and her sister, and there was like 5 or 6 girls that came through, Centennial High School in that stretch that I used to practice with, that used to just beat on me, and they all, most, I think 5 of the 6 went and wrestled in college. Yeah, it's just they were very, very good wrestlers, and yeah, they straight up beat on me for years. Either way, beside the point. I was more essentially going and doing those extra things and those extra practices because I wanted to be a champion. I wanted to be good. I wanted to be as good as I could be. And so that resulted in me doing all these extra little steps. And for about a 3-year time span, from about like the 5th, 6th grade transfer to until I got to high school, I was already practicing with high schoolers that entire time. I got to the point where 7th and 8th grade, I was going to the equal amount of high school practices that I was my club team practice. And at the same time that I was doing the extra high school practices, I was also practicing with like our younger crew of our club team, because I was helping the coaches. And so between helping the coaches and then helping my teammates and helping through, I mean, I was literally, leaving middle school. My mom was driving me to the high school. I'd get to high school, I'd go to the high school practice, I'd do the high school practice with them. I would normally eat like a protein bar, a power bar, whatever, and then I'd wait like a little bit of time span, and then it was like 30 minutes, and then that's when the kids, like the young kids and the rookies and whatnot of the club team, like they had the early practice, and so I would stay and help them out and help do little things and what the coaches and whatnot. And then after that practice was over is when the advanced practice was, and that's when I had my practice, and so I was in there with my teammates, and then we had our regular normal practice, and so, I mean, there was 3 to 4 days out of the week, I was probably putting in about 7 to 8 hours of wrestling, and that's just, like, after I got out of school. I mean, I was for a while, there was a lot of time that I put in mat time, and then there were some of those days where I would then leave after the advanced practice, so that would be the third practice, because there was really only 2, because there was a lot of times with the kids, I didn't actually practice, I was just a coach. So after the advanced practice, I would then sometimes go with my mom to 24-hour fitness, where I would either be on the elliptical for like 45 minutes to an hour, and then I would sit in the sauna or steam room or both for like anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. And I did that essentially for fully for 2 years, seventh and eighth grade for sure. But I partially did some of that in sixth grade, just because that's kind of when I started doing it, and then ramped it up in seventh grade, and then ramped it up and kept it the same in eighth grade. And then my freshman year of high school, it turned and, I was fine. I was in this great shape and I was really good and locked and loaded, but it just turned into that same machine. And it was like, I only got as good as I did because I put in all that extra time 2 years before. Like I put in so much mat time. Like I got so much better from seventh grade to my freshman year just because the amount of time that I spent on the mat was probably tripled of what the norm, like I probably did about 6 years of work in about 2 years. And so when people say, "Oh, well, I want to move, I want to get to whatever place. I want to jump, the it's like, yeah, it's going to take a lot of work." The fact that people, there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, well, you just can't do it in this much. It takes XYZ time." And it's like, "No, you can learn the needed skills. It's just going to be ridiculously hard." Other people have done it, and the fact that other people have done it, you can do it. But it's like, hey, let's just at least acknowledge like it's going to be really, really hard, and it's going to be a lot of time that you're going to have to commit, and there's a very strong chance that you're going to fail. And knowing that going in, I think there's people that'll just be like, "Oh, what?" And it'll stop, and like they'll just either not do it at all. They'll understand it's going to take a lot of time, and then they get really invested and they start doing the extra things anyways, and it comes quicker than it was going to anyways because they got invested and like that's what they made their full passion. So it can work in a lot of different realms, but either way, at the end of the day, you just have to do something. You have to get moving in the right direction. You identify what the win is, you identify what you want to accomplish, and then you start moving in that direction. You can do and go as much as you want to in that direction. No one's going to stop you. If you say, I want to run 300 miles this year, and so you start running 5 miles a day and you keep up a 5 mile a day pace for a month, well, at the end of the month, after 30 days, you're going to have ran already a substantial amount. Like you're already past the amount you are almost to the amount that you said. You are halfway to the amount that you wanted to get to in 1 month of your 1 year goal. And it's just because you said, well, I'm going to run 300 miles and I ran 150 in the first month. Well, if you maintain that same pace and keep that same pace, well, that 300 was a really small number for you. You knew that you could do it. So you just went out and smashed it. It's still a win because now you can change that goal and you can be like, okay, well, I want to run 1,000 miles this year. And like you can move the goal. You can't move the goal down. You can only move the goal up. So if you set it at 300 and you figured out, hey, I can run 50 miles a week. And so you start doing 50 miles a week. And so at the end of the first month, you're at 200 miles. It's like, well, okay, like 300 is a small number for you. So at 200 miles a month, like, okay, maybe we should set this uh at like 2,400 miles, maybe, 12 times two, like maybe we should, 12 times 200, I should say, like maybe that's where you should set the mark at. Like you can move the number up, you just can't move it down. And that involves going the extra steps too, because if you start to get on this nice accomplishment and you know that you're going to hit it, it makes it kind of more fun to be like, all right, well, I'm actually gonna move this up because I know now that I can achieve that. And so it's like, okay, let's incrementally move that up a little bit. Okay, let's move that up a little bit more. And having that identified helps. Having the starting the process helps. Getting the action and doing it and seeing a little bit of the results helps. But at the end of the day, it still takes time. If you say I set these goals for 12 months, no matter what, you have to go 12 months. You can only judge yourself at the end of 12 months. If it's been 6 months and you've been slacking, well, guess what? You still have 6 months to achieve it. So you can turn on the gas, you can, go full burners and go out for 6 months and you can do all that you can do. You're going to get very far. There's a highly likely chance that trying to do in 6 months what you wanted to accomplish in 12 months isn't going to happen, but at the same time, being super focused and doubling down and doing a lot of work, knowing you only have 6 months, there's a chance that you work twice as hard every single day than what you would have done, which still could result in you actually getting the 12-month goals. So, it could kind of balance itself out, but at the end of the day, it comes down to you. It's just still setting the goals. Once you set the goals, you're fine. You decide what the goals can be. You decide where you initially set the bar. So you say you can always move it up, you just can't move it down, but you get to decide that. If it's, hey, I want to run, hey, I want to become a champion, hey, I want to do this, hey, I want to become whatever your goals are, you decide them. Only you, not your boyfriend, not your girlfriend, not your wife, not your brother, not your sister, not your mom, not your dad, not your grandma, not your grandpa, whoever is in your life. It is not them that set your goals. It is you. You set your goals and you identify what a win is to you. It doesn't matter what it is to anybody else because no one can come along and tell you, hey, that's not a win. A win should look like this. Well, I set my goals. I achieved my goals. These are my wins that I've identified that I'm chasing after. And it doesn't matter what they say. Their opinion, thanks. It's valid. Congratulations. I don't care that you have an opinion. I appreciate that you have an opinion. I just don't care about your opinion. I achieved my goals, I won. Period. Next. And once you get to that point, you set more goals and you just keep this process going and it's this constant chase and this constant journey towards how many goals can you achieve because I use this reference I know like months ago in terms of the mountain. If you start at the base of the mountain and you look up, you're going to see a peak in the mountain and you start walking towards this peak. When you were at the very bottom, you saw this one peak. You saw this mountain. You said, wow, it's going to be really hard for me to get up there. It's going to be really hard to get there. It's going to take me a long time. And so you keep walking and you're at the base and you're making your way along and it's dark and it's woods and there's open spaces and there's dark spaces again and there's hard times and there's a creek that you have to cross and there's thorny bushes that you run into and there's a couple animals that you ran from. And then you finally make it up to this peak and you look back to where you started and it's way down at the bottom so far that you almost can't even see it anymore. And you have this beautiful view and you're seeing all the vast that you can over this new status and this new level that you're at. And you're looking, you're going, yeah, I just did that. I got here. I accomplished it. That's right. I made it all the way up to the top. I told myself at the bottom that was way down there. I can't even see where it's at. Now I'm up here on top. Now I've achieved. I won. And you can celebrate that you made it up there. But what's going to happen is you're going to turn and you're going to look and you're going to see the next spot that you can get to that's just a little bit higher. You're going to see that next peak. You're going to see this beautiful, vast view and you're going to turn and notice that there's another peak up there that's a little bit higher than the one that you're at. And you know that you can make it there. And you know that you just have to start on your way because you got inspired, but you couldn't see that peak at the bottom from when you just started, from all the way down from where you originally started at the very base of the first mountain. You got to the top of the first one. And because you got to the top of the first one, you saw the peak of the next one and it's a little bit higher. And so you go after that one. And so you journey down in the valley, you go into the darkness, you go into the depths, you go into the place that you don't want to go to. You just left the highest point with the best views and the sunshine and the good days and the green grass and the nice everything. You go into this valley and it's dark and it's dirty and it's dusty and there's bad stuff and you just can't find a break and everything is happening to you and you're just stuck and now you can't see and you're in the valley and you're trying to look up and you can't see the place that you were going to and you can't see the place that you came from and you feel like you're in this nothingness space, but you have to keep moving towards what you were originally going towards. You just keep going every single day. You understand, and it's like, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know where I'm going, and I'm just going to keep going because I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep doing it because I had my goal set. I saw that higher peak. I know what I saw, and I'm going to keep chasing after it no matter how many people come across, no matter how many times people say I'm crazy, no matter how many times people say you can't do it, no matter how many times people will come along and try to say it can't be done, it won't be done, you can't do it. Well, you know what? I saw it and I'm going to do it because I told myself I'm going to do it. That's the mindset that ends up having, because you then come on the outside of the valley, you saw the place that you were at, you start to see the sunshine, you continue along your journey, you continue making status at the mountain, you continue climbing, you continue climbing, you continue climbing until you make it to the peak of that next hill that you saw, and it's a great view. It's a better view than last time. It's even better. It's more sunshine. It's greener grass. It's better trees, it's more fruit, it's more food, and you're looking, and then you see that mountaintop that you used to be on, and you say, that's so far down there. How did I think that that was so good? Why was that good at all? Look how far that down there that is. I can almost not even see, and it looks like terrible. The grass isn't that green, and there's rocks everywhere, and it's really not that good, and it's really low because look where I'm standing now. I'm standing really high on this mountain. Now you got this beautiful view, and I've got this great, tremendous thing I'm looking at. And look at that valley that I went through. And I can see the valley that I went through, but the place that I first started at the first mountain, I can't even see. The mountaintop of the first place that I got to, I can barely see, but I know it doesn't look that good. And now you're standing on the second mountaintop and you're looking, you're happy, you accomplished it. You saw your goals, you achieved it. And then you look and you have this beautiful view and you keep turning your head. And what do you find? You find another mountaintop. You found another peak that you can go higher because you're not done yet. You wouldn't have seen the third mountaintop if you never got to the peak of the second one, which would have never happened if you never got to the peak of the first one, which would have never happened if you would have never started from the very first time all the way back at the beginning of that first mountain, at the base of the first mountain, and the nothingness that you started at all the way further, way all the way back. You took the first step. And because you took that first step, you're now on a journey to your highest peak at the third mountain, or the next thing that you can see, at the highest thing that you conceive about yourself. And you've got these goals and you've got these aspirations, and you can do it. You will do it. And you keep going after it every single day, no matter what people say to you, no matter how many times people say to it. You're going to achieve it because you have it and you want it bad enough. You identified what the win is for you. So, what you want to give up for that is what you decide. You can sacrifice, you can make your why, you can figure it out. But at the end of the day, you're going to achieve it because no one wants to be a loser. You identify what a win is and you chase after that win every single day. And the only way that you keep getting better is you have identified what you're chasing after. And once you find what you're chasing after, there's nothing that really you can't get. You can keep going, you can keep going, you can keep going, and you just don't stop. Just literally just don't stop. Just keep chasing. Take that little bit extra step. You're at the end of a really hard day and it's been really tough and you don't think that you can make it. You just take a little step more. And then tomorrow you do the same exact thing and it's a little bit easier because you already did it yesterday, and then you take a little bit extra step and it gets a little bit easier. So the next day, now you're doing it and it's a little bit easier, and you take a little bit of extra step, and then the next day you're a little extra step, and that extra step turns into an extra 2 steps, and 2 steps turns into 4 steps, and 4 steps turns into 8, and it's exponential. And next thing you know, you're at the mountaintop and you're looking and you hit your views and you're a winner. But it's this long, constant grind of a daily thing where you're trying to make sure where you're constantly moving forward, no matter how many rocks you trip over, no matter how many times you slipped in the creek, no matter how many trees you have to duck under, no matter how many bushes you have to chop your way through. You continue moving forward with any means necessary. And that is exactly what's going to make you a winner. You do every little thing in a daily manner with excellence. And at the end of the day, you group them all together, and it's an excellent being. It's an excellent path. It's an excellent journey. There's hard times, there's great times, but at the end of the day, you know that you achieved. And the only thing that you care about is the achievement at the end. And then you're able to see how much better you can be because you saw where you can get to. You got to that mountaintop. And now it's time for you to go to the second one because you can do better. You're doing super good and you can do better. You're doing outstanding and can be better tomorrow. That's just kind of how it is. But at the end of the day, you have to decide. You have to decide. A win to you is different than a win to me. I've done a lot. I've continued to try to chase my next mountaintop. My little molehills that I started off with early on. And sometimes you have to give yourself that little achievement. Sometimes you have to climb a little molehill and you're like, all right, I made it to the top. Now I can climb something a little bit higher. And then you just climb something that's slightly bigger than that. And you go, all right, I can climb something higher than this. And you climb something higher and you climb something higher and you do something more. And then you do something again and then you do something again. And you finally get to this point where you're going to make it because you're going to keep doing it over and over and over and over and over and over again. Being a winner, it's up to you. You get to decide. You get to decide because you can do it. You just have to decide. I can't decide for you. You can control what you can control. You can decide what you want to do. And at the end of the day, once you decide what you do, go after it fully. Go after with 110%. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if there's 15 things on that list. You go after them with 110% and you have no doubt in your mind and you believe in all 15 of those things and you chase after them every single day. You break it down to a fundamental daily thing that you can do or that little daily thing that you do. And you know, as long as you do that, and you do it every day, and you're going to get anything that you want. And I love it. I love it. It's something I firmly believe and it's something I'm firmly chasing. And you know what? It's got a pretty good reputation to it too, because I've achieved quite a lot. And I tell you what, you can achieve too, because if I can do it, then surely you can do it. I came from a small nothing place, just the same as most of you. My story is no grander than yours. The people with the lowest lows only give themselves the abilities to have the highest highs. When you can withstand something that is the lowest of low, it only makes you able to achieve the highest of highs because it goes back to balance. The lowest low only gives room for the highest high. That's it for me today. I'm going to get off the soapbox for now. So, you guys know, do all the fun social media stuff, whatever platform you're watching on, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or any of the other podcasting platforms, like, comment, subscribe, share, notification bell, follow. I think I hit all of them. That's probably good enough because you guys actually probably understand what all the things that you need to do better than I even am saying them. So you guys know what you should do. But at the end of the day, I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Your boy Mighty Q is out. We'll see you later.